to introduce this evening of music associated with James Joyce, and there is a huge amount. I mean, if you look at the index of Mabel Worthington's book, or any of the other books about song, allusions, musical allusions to the works of James Joyce, you'll see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of melodies mentioned. We have a beautiful selection, a very varied selection for you here this evening. James Joyce was a musician. He had a beautiful voice. His wife, Nora Barnacle, who came from Galway, said to him on occasion, you know, if you played your cards right, you could have been a second John McCormack. But Joyce wanted to be a first James Joyce rather than a second John McCormack. And he didn't actually compete in the Fish Show against McCormack. They were in two separate years, one after the other. And Joyce won the bronze medal. The judge was Luigi Denza, who wrote Funiculi Funicular, and he was tremendously impressed by Joyce, but Joyce could not sight read. And when it came to the sight reading piece, Joyce flung the music on the floor and declared that as an artist he would not perform unprepared. The actual reason was he couldn't read music properly, and he told his biographer Gorman that he'd thrown the bronze medal that he got into the Liffey. Denz awarded him the bronze medal because he felt, having not completed the full test, he couldn't give him the gold, although he would have liked to. But Joyce was not telling the truth on that occasion. That bronze medal survived in the possession of his brother Stanislas, who was his brother's keeper, and it came through the estate of Nellie Joyce, and then James Joyce II, his nephew. When some years ago James Joyce died tragically early, the nephew, they turned up at an auction, and Sotheby's brought it to Dublin, and I had the pleasure of holding Joyce's Fish Show medal in my hand. Joyce was a musician. He played the piano quite well. He sang beautifully. When he entered the Fish Show, he was coached by Vincent O'Brien. I made a film for the 1983 centenary of James Joyce, and I interviewed the two sons of Vincent O'Brien, and in the interval of filming, I asked them, did their father ever say anything about Joyce and music, Joyce and singing? And they both agreed. They said, yes, Dad said Joyce had the most beautiful voice, but he would never be a singer. And I said, why not? Well, they said, Dad said, when he was preparing Joyce for the Fish, there was a piece by Handel, I think, called Whom the Lord Loveth, Those He Chastiseth. And Joyce placed the music on the piano and went into a long theological disquisition about the cruelty of God. How could he punish those whom he loved? What kind of justice? He was more interested in the words. But he also played the guitar. He tried to commission Arnold Dolmetsch to make a dulcimer, a very delicate instrument that goes out of tune very easily, so that he could rove around Ireland and southern England, accompanying himself, singing the madrigals of people like John Dowland. And you'll find Dowland's music and references to Dowland turning up all over Ulysses. There's so much that could be said about music. I have the honour and the privilege and the pleasure of putting in little bits in between the various pieces. But I'd like to say what an honour it is to me, as a mere MC, as a link man, to appear with these three wonderful Irish artists, whom I've been very pleased to get to know. We have Virginia Kerr, a superb soprano, and she is in good voice tonight. I heard her play a little bit volée et non volée outside in the little corridor there. She's also a great exponent of 20th century music. She has been with in the past the Glasnevin Musical Society, and how I love them. How I used to sit in the gods listening, and they played so much of Joyce's music. Maritana, The Bohemian Girl, The Lily of Killarney, and how he trilled in those cheap seats to that wonderful music, so beautifully sung. So thank God for the Glasnevin Musical Society. She's also on the board of Christchurch Cathedral Singers, which I think is absolutely wonderful, and well done for that, for keeping that glorious musical tradition going. She's on the singing faculty of the Royal Irish Academy of Music, of Maynooth, and she has a CD. It's just out of my heart and eye. It's available in all record shops. It should be available here, but she's not crass like me. I said to them, have you any merchandise? I said, have you got any CDs? She said, oh yes, but they're in the boot of the car in the supermarket. can get them, but you'll have to get them, I think, online. Because I don't think it'll be possible for her to get them, unfortunately. And we have Gavin Ring, a beautiful, beautiful singer, who was an alumnus of the Schola Cantorum, St. Finian's College in Mullingar. And I promised him I will not make a single joke about the Ring of Kerry. He has studied in various places. He's a young associate with the Opera Theatre Company, which, again, we should be very, very grateful to. He sung at the Westport Festival Opera. And again, what a wonderful and uniquely Irish festival that is. And then we come to Una Hunt, who is indeed, as the programme says, one of Ireland's leading pianists. She's played recitals all over the world. She toured the United States with the Thomas Moore Festival, and we'll be including some of the beautiful melodies of Thomas Moore here this evening. She's been involved in a whole series of world-breaking premiere recordings. The Northern musician, for example, Joan Trimble, she has recorded these and was the first person. She also has a CD, My Gentle Harp, complete collection of Moore's Irish melodies, and I understand that Gavin sings on some of those, so that's another one to add to your budget. And may I doff my hat to Una, because she has a PhD in performance from NUI Maynooth. And she is an extremely popular person. I just want to tell you, I hope we get ovations. I hope we get demands for extra music at the end, because Una has received recently 2 standing ovations in Carnegie Hall. Now, I think that's pretty wonderful, so I'm expecting a couple of encores here this evening. It's not for me to go on forever. These are artists, and I just end with one little story. I was involved in the centenary of James Joyce, and I organised, among other things, because he was so musical, and because Maria Jolas and Carol Gideon Velker had let me listen to a little private recording of Joyce's music. Joyce wrote the piano music for one of the songs from chamber music, Bid Adieu to Girlish Days. A lovely, lovely song, most enchanting melody, and it was sung by his son, Giorgio Joyce, who was a bass baritone. So I thought it was appropriate to do some of the songs in their Irish settings, including the one by Joyce, and I asked the Professor of Music if he could have the use of the concert room, the music room, and the grand piano. And I thought, as a gesture, I'd better say, would you like to introduce the programme? And somehow our wires got a little bit crossed, and he thought this was an invitation to deliver an academic lecture about the origins of music. And he started with the Aeolian mode in classical Greece. And after 58 minutes and 20 seconds, he uttered a phrase that still sends a collective shudder down the Joycean spine. He said, "Before we leave the 15th century." With the prospects of another 4.5 centuries, but it was too much. And Professor Mort Levitt of Temple University in Philadelphia climbed over the barricade and hissed into his ear, "Would you kindly bring your remarks to a conclusion, Professor? We have come to hear the music." Well, I know, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of the classical Covies, you have come to hear not me, but the artists. And so, let us go on with the show.